Yes, Mr. MacDonald.
Thank you. Lord, the next witness is Mrs. M. Benjamin. Her statement is in volume G, 11, at page 1448.
Oh, okay. Is there a second one? You said the...
Lord, at page 1448 of the...
Yes. No, I have
bundle.
it.
You do. Thank you.
Yeah.
May the witness be sworn in then.
Yes.
Please state your full names.
Must I stand?
Yes. Please state your full names.
Madhivadini Benjamin.
Do you have any objection to take a prescribed oath?
No.
Do you swear that the evidence you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. MacDonald.
Yes. Ma'am, if it suits you, you may take off your mask in order to speak. It might be a little easier. And we have the protection of the visor for you. All right. Now, is it correct that your date of birth is the 25th of October 1951? Your answer.
It's correct.
Thank you. Then, is it also correct that on or about the 25th of January 2018, you made a statement to the investigating officer, then Frank Khamanyane?
It's correct.
Now, I will take you through your statement. Could you tell us firstly a little bit about yourself? What employment did you have during your lifetime?
I was mostly in the nursing profession.
Am I correct, a senior nurse?
Yes.
And did you retire from nursing?
No.
No. And what was your last form of employment? Were you a lecturer?
No.
Please, enlighten us.
No.
It's okay. So, when you retired, what were you doing?
I was still teaching, basically,
Where?
at King George V Hospital.
Now, is it also correct that you are formerly from the Pietermaritzburg area?
Yes.
So I didn't hear that?
The answer, my lord, or the question?
The answer.
Yes. The answer was yes.
Okay.
Now, is it also correct that in or about 1977, you were a nurse at King George V Hospital here in Durban? 1977?
Correct.
Did you meet during that year Dr. Hoosen Haffejee?
Yes, I did.
Are you able to tell us approximately at which point in that year of 1977 you first met?
It was at the beginning of that year.
And what were your first impressions of him?
That he was terribly arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, he was?
He was arrogant.
Arrogant, my lord.
Okay.
Anything else, ma'am?
He felt he could, that the world revolved around him.
Now, this was at the beginning of the year. Did you subsequently engage in a relationship with Dr. Haffejee?
Very much later.
When you say much later, are you able to say when in the year? March, April, any indication?
Maybe about March.
And back at that time, Dr. Haffejee was a dentist at the hospital King George V.
Yes, he was.
Your statement, you say that you knew he was on a recruitment drive. Do you recall that in your statement? Can you explain that to us?
The manner in which he conducted himself, meetings with the younger people of the fraternity, and various other things that he did.
Recruitment for what?
It was a recruitment for increasing the population.
Of activists?
Potential activists.
So, for loss of a better way, freedom fighters. He was recruiting people to join into the freedom fighters movement at the time against the apartheid regime. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. So, when did you find out about this? When you had first met him, or just before you had met him?
Just actually when I had just met him.
So that would be the beginning of 1977.
That's right.
Okay. So, and you knew that he was on this recruitment drive. Now, can you then tell us about your relationship with him from March onwards? How is it that you got into a relationship?
It was a very difficult time for me
Yes.
because I was known as a snitch.
In March, April?
Yes.
Starting from there.
Yes.
Okay. You were saying, so you were known as a snitch from as early as March?
Yes.
And even before that?
Yes.
By whom? In other words, persons at the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And what gave you that reputation? Sorry. I was saying.
That I acquired that reputation because of my activities.
With?
My activities with
Security branch?
Security branch.
Okay. So these activities that you speak of, they started prior to April of 1977, is that correct?
That's right.
Sorry, ma'am, it's quite loud. Please. I apologize about the disturbance. Okay, so let's just get back. So your activities with the security branch, Durban, started in or about or prior to April of 1977. Now these activities, firstly, were they meetings? Were you an informer for them?
They were informal meetings with members of
The security branch?
Yeah.
Now, Where were the meetings held? At the hospital?
Yes, at various venues. At the hospital itself.
I see. Okay. And during these meetings, what was your role for the security branch? Prior to April, what was your role? Were you an informant?
Yes, I was an informant.
For the security branch?
Yes, providing whatever information I could
On?
on the activities of this particular group.
Group, okay. And did it also include informing on persons at the King George Hospital itself? The nursing staff and the medical staff?
The nursing staff predominantly.
Predominantly. So how is it, sorry, if I may just take that back. So, and during these meetings, can you tell the court which members of the security branch you might have met? If I were to give you names, would you be able to say yes or no?
Give me the names.
Vic McPherson,
Yes.
Louis Buerta,
Yes.
Mohan Gopal,
Yes.
Shroods Govender,
Yes.
Benjamin, Mr. Benjamin, your eventual husband.
Yes.
Was he at the meeting?
Yes.
Andy Taylor,
Yes.
yes?
Yes.
You're certain about that?
Yeah.
James Barrow Taylor. No, you can't remember. Very well. Now, Lieutenant Colonel Kutsia. Don't remember him at the meetings.
Yes.
Wait, was he present at the meetings or not?
He was present.
V.R. Naidu. Remember V.R. Naidu at all at the meetings? At any of the meetings? Veera or Raju?
Oh, yes.
Yes, okay. Now, in respect of these meetings, just to confirm, how often were they held?
As regularly as they could be convened.
I see, all right. And as an informer during that period, 1977, were you also paid, as is the case with informers?
No.
Okay. So you were giving information then to the security branch for free?
Yes.
Were you ever paid at some point?
No.
Now, we come back to these meetings and you say that they were held whenever they were necessary, but were all the members that I mentioned present at all the meetings, or would they be broken up in terms of different persons on different occasions?
They were
Yes?
put into what was termed as cells,
Right.
where groups of members, groups of people would associate with each other
Okay.
at certain times.
Let me ask this. At what point in 1977 did Dr. Haffejee become a person of interest to the security branch? Can you remember when you first heard about him in relation to the security branch?
Not the exact date.
Okay, but it was prior to April.
I think so.
Now, were you then, or at any point, but were you instructed to befriend Dr. Haffejee?
No, not really.
Not really, okay. But you were giving the security branch information on him prior to April.
Mm-hmm.
What information were you giving him about him before April?
About his activities, his enthusiasm for recruiting young people.
And were you ever instructed to befriend Dr. Haffejee to get more information from him?
Not really.
Okay. Could you explain?
I wasn't instructed per se, but there was this written understanding, unwritten understanding that whatever happened at these meetings I would relay
To?
to the head of security branch.
Who was that?
It depended on who was conducting the sessions at the time.
The security branch meetings. You know. And the meetings that you were talking about regarding cells, if I understand correctly, these are the meetings that Dr. Haffejee was having?
No.
No, okay, that's fine. Okay, so you said that it was an unwritten agreement that you would report on Dr. Haffejee's activities, his recruitment drive, and on those lines. How then were you able to get close to him, to be able to get this information from him, and to be able to monitor him?
We had a lot of parties and things in his flat.
Okay, let's just take a step back. Tell me about your relationship with Dr. Haffejee, how it started. You were introduced in early 1977. When did it become a relationship?
It was a gradual affair.
Did it build into more than just a gradual affair?
Oh yes, it did.
Yes. And how long did this take?
It took like forever and a day.
I see. Very well. So you then agree that you were in a relationship with Dr. Haffejee?
Yes.
All right. But from the outset of the relationship, you had already been with the security branch as an informer, and your new task was now to also obtain information on Dr. Haffejee and feed it to the security branch, yes?
Yes.
Now, Dr. Haffejee had a flat, a residence in Antelope Place.
Yes.
Did you visit his whole flat? Did you stay over at his flat?
Sometimes.
Did you have a key to his flat?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did anyone else have a key other than you?
No.
What was the purpose of you having a key to his flat?
Basically to fill in the grocery cupboard
To assist him, basically.
assist him with cooking and so
When he wasn't there over the weekends where he would be visiting his family in Pietermaritzburg.
Yes.
Okay. Now, during this time, whilst he was away, there were certain conditions that he had regarding his flat, were there not? What were those conditions?
Not to touch certain cupboards.
Okay. Where were these cupboards?
Hidden in the recesses of his
His bedroom.
bedroom.
I see. Did he tell you why not to go into them? Or was it just a condition not to open them?
Just not to open it.
Any other conditions that he had? When you might be able to visit him? So were you able to visit him every day of the week?
No.
No. Which day weren't you allowed to visit?
Maybe on it would depend on his mood.
His mood and his meetings? Would it not depend on his meetings in the evenings?
Yes.
No. Did you find out who these meetings were held with?
Yes.
What was the purpose of the meetings, according to the information that you obtained? Why was he holding the meetings? Was he teaching?
He was basically instructing the young student population.
To do what?
To
Well, we know he was an activist. Was it possibly to mobilize the youth or the younger people?
yeah, I think so. I think that was it.
What did you know?
I knew that there was a lot of activity happening around who was invited to these meetings, and yeah.
Okay, and what were the meetings about? What were the meetings about? You said that he was instructing, he was teaching. Teaching to do what? Are you able to answer?
Yes, I will answer.
Sure.
It was a difficult situation in that you really didn't know, or I really didn't know, the nitty-gritty of these teachings. I kind of guessed as to what was happening.
Okay.
And my guesses were always correct.
What did you guess? What was your guess on the meeting?
That these young people who were recruited, they were mainly university students.
Yes.
And yes, he seemed to like them. He enjoyed being with them and teaching them.
Still haven't told us. Teaching them what?
How to be an activist.
Did this include making bombs?
Whoa,
Sorry?
I don't think so.
Oh, I see. All right. Then let's go into this. These meetings were firstly held on a weekly basis, correct?
Mm-hmm.
They involve no more than 2 people. Is that correct? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Then, at some point, you found literature in a book in the flat?
Yes.
Am I correct in the literature being that of a subversive nature?
Yes.
Did this book also contain information on how to make bombs?
Yes, a lot of information.
Yes. Okay. Did you pass this information on to the security branch?
Not immediately.
Okay. Did the book that you speak of, was it found in a green velvet outer book?
Yes.
And the inside of the book was cut out, and this secret book was placed inside it?
Yes.
Okay. The book also had Dr. Haffejee's handwritten notes in it, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Just bear in mind, obviously, we can't hear a nod.
All right.
Okay, so, thank you, ma'am. The handwritten notes, you knew what Dr. Haffejee's handwriting looked like. That's how you
Yes.
knew it was his. And these handwritten notes were, firstly, of how to build bombs. Was there any other information in his handwriting? Other than how to build bombs?
The getting together of the groups.
Yes.
was in his handwriting.
Okay. Was the purpose of the groups getting together noted in the book, in his handwriting?
Yes, I think it was.
To your memory, were there any venues regarding the bombs?
No.
No. Did you eventually hand this book or information over to the security branch?
Yes, I did.
This was obviously prior to his arrest.
Yes.
Was it prior to April of 1977?
Must have been.
You have to be certain.
I think so.
I think so. All right. At any point, did you, along with the security branch member or members, enter the flat at Antelope Place, Dr. Haffejee's place of residence? Did you, with any security branch members, enter that place
Mm-hmm. Yes.
prior to his arrest?
Yes.
What was the purpose?
To basically to check and to verify what I had already told them.
About the book?
Yes.
Right. And did you go in with one member, two members? Who went with you that day?
It was one member.
Yes, what was his name? Was it Mohan Gopal?
Mm-hmm.
No. Was it Shrood's governor?
Mm.
Yes. Is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes.
Thank you. So you and Shrood's governor entered the flat to confirm what you had already told him. Did you find that information, and did the security branch member eventually have sight of it? Did you see it?
Yes.
Did you find anything else? Any equipment at all when you took him in?
There were bits and pieces of metal.
When you say that, what was the purpose of the metal? Were you able to find out what the metal could have been used for?
No, I didn't find out.
I see. All right. So you let Mr. Governor into the flat because you had the key.
Yeah.
Was the book that you mentioned, was it ever taken by the security branch? Physically removed from the flat? Was it ever photocopied to your knowledge?
No, I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. Now, in the same year of 1977, you purchased a new vehicle, a Mazda, is that correct?
Yes.
And I'm merely inquiring. This was from your salary, obviously.
Yes.
This was in the early part of the year.
Yes.
I have to ask, ma'am, it's contained in your statement. Did you, during your relationship, actually love Dr. Haffejee?
No.
That was quick. You did understand my question?
Yes.
Okay, so during your relationship with Dr. Haffejee, you didn't love him?
No.
No. So why were you in a relationship with him? And might I just add before that, it was a physical relationship, wasn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. And you say that you didn't love him. And what was the purpose then of being in the relationship with him? Was it simply to gather information about him?
To gather information about him.
So your job then was to get as much information on Dr. Haffejee by whatever means possible.
Right.
Okay. And if that meant having to be physical with him, then that is the task that you would have to fulfill.
Mm-hmm.
So then, ma'am, we have to come straight to the point. According to your statement, you gave up Dr. Haffejee or informed the security branch about him in April of 1977. And the reason was because of unrequited love, that he showed more affection to another female in his life.
Mm-hmm.
You remember you said that in your
Yes.
statement? So that would be incorrect then.
That is, no,
No.
you're confusing me now.
Okay, let's take it one step at a time. Did you love Dr. Haffejee during your relationship? Your answer was no.
Mm.
You said, and you went on to say that the purpose of your relationship and the extent of the relationship was in order for you to obtain information from him on his political activities,
Right,
his recruitment drive,
right,
and his instructions on how to make moles.
right.
Okay, so that is all correct so far. So, did you inform, so sorry, let me just take that back. I want to ask again, were you paid as an informer?
No,
At no point,
no,
it's contained in your statement, that you were paid. And you said it. So I want to clarify it, I want to give you the opportunity. Were you paid as an informer?
no,
Okay, very well. In your statement, you also say that you took an overdose after Dr. Haffejee's death because you were so overcome emotionally by his passing. Is that true?
never did.
You never took an overdose, did you? Okay. Now, is it also true that in the month of August 1977, you went on holiday?
Yes, I
Yes.
did.
And you went, it was out of the country?
Yes,
Are you able to say, was it middle of August, end of August that you left? Can you? You don't have to give the correct date.
about the beginning of August.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
So within a week after Dr. Haffejee died?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You went on this trip and it was overseas.
Mm-hmm.
It was for approximately, well, how long was it for?
Altogether for about 7 weeks.
7 to 8 weeks. Is that about right?
Yeah.
So approximately 2 months then, you left the country. Did you go alone?
No, I went with
May I refresh your memory? Veena Mirage?
yes,
Okay. Now, just whilst we're on this topic, Veena Mirage, was she also a nurse at the hospital
Yes,
with you?
she
And
was.
she was at the hospital for longer than you,
yes,
from I believe 1969.
yes,
Okay. And according to your statement, it was she who introduced you to the members of the security branch.
yes.
Okay. Now, during this period of 1977, if you could assist us, was Veena Mirage at King George Hospital or Northdale Hospital?
She was at
King George Hospital, Northdale Hospital.
at King George Hospital.
Are you sure of that?
Positive.
Was she also present at these meetings that you would have with the security branch? To your knowledge?
To my knowledge, yeah.
Okay. Now let's come back to your holiday. So you left the country for approximately 8 weeks, and at the time you were in a relationship with Benjamin as well. That's Munsami Benjamin.
No.
Joseph Benjamin.
No.
No. When did your relationship start with him?
Long after everything.
Am I correct in saying that he also ended up getting a divorce in or about 1978 to marry you. I ask, am I correct or not? Did he get a divorce?
He got a divorce, but exact dates I don't know.
Okay. Was it shortly after your return from your overseas trip? Yes. Okay. Whilst you were overseas, do you recall the countries you visited? May I refresh your memory? Did you visit America?
Yeah.
Did you visit the UK? Very well. Now, in your statement, a letter is attached. And according to your statement, the letter is in fact in your handwriting. You confirm that? Right. In the letter, you say, if I may read, and I have a copy in front of you. Bear with me. That it's halfway down the letter.
Sorry, what page is that?
This is, my lord, it's the letter attached to the statement by Mrs. Benjamin. It's in a handwritten form.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at the second page, I believe, my lord, of an aerogram. And midway down...
Is it 1462?
Possibly, yes, my lord.
Is it? Okay.
Yes. Sorry, do you have the letter? It's right at the end. See the letter? Right. Just firstly, you agree that the letter is dated the 20th of May 1977. Right. Midway down in the letter, I won't go through everything, I just want to pick out certain aspects. You say, could you possibly see me as an actress? Do you see that?
No.
If I may? Would you like me to mark it for you? See that underlined part?
Yes.
Now, just to put things in perspective, sorry, I should have asked this first. The letter was addressed to one Jurgen, Jurgen. Right. And he was a friend of yours at the time.
Yes.
Where did you meet him initially? Cape Town?
Cape Town,
You were working at Grooteskier Hospital.
yeah. That's right.
And you befriended him from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, at the time of you writing the letter, he was a doctor, right? And he wasn't in South Africa at the time.
No, he was.
Not a Grooteskier, but at the time of you writing the letter. This letter that you have in front of you, when you wrote it, is it correct that he was in America, in Massachusetts?
He was in South Africa.
I see. All right. So halfway down in your handwriting, the underlined part that I'm referring to is, could you possibly see me as an actress? Yes, you see it? It goes on. Four lines later, where you say, Jürgen, have you ever been involved in espionage? See that? Take your time.
Actually, I don't remember most of this. But never mind, let's go on.
Okay, so there's the two aspects. Actress, you saw that line? And then the second line, espionage, where you talk of, you asked him if he was ever involved in espionage. Was this in relation to your role that you were playing between Dr. Haffejee, the security branch, your nursing job? The fact that you were obtaining information on Dr. Haffejee and the manner in which you were doing it. Espionage. Yes?
Now you've muddled me up.
Okay, let's just take these. You say here in your letter to Jürgen, you talk about being an actress, playing a part as such. Yes?
Okay.
And you also talk about espionage. Is it a referral to what your activities were at that time, where you had to gather information about Dr. Haffejee?
A bit of everything.
Okay. I won't delve too much on that. Tell me, you went on this vacation. Am I correct in saying that you, sorry. According to the letter, were you in love with Dr. Jürgen at the time?
Was I?
In love with Dr. Jürgen at the time of you writing this letter?
Yeah, could be. Yes.
Thank you. And is it correct that you went on holiday and in that 8-week period you met him?
Yes.
In the United Kingdom?
Yes.
I see. Was Veena Mirage with you at that time?
Yes.
Of your meeting?
Yes, she was.
I see. Now, the letter in May was, correct me if I'm wrong, confirmation for your visit to him in August. You were
Right.
confirming that you wanted to visit him and he
Yes.
just needed to say yes. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall prior to August when you might have booked your tickets to go overseas or to go on this trip? Do you recall when you booked the trip? Months before August.
I can't remember the exact date.
Tell me this. Who was your handler as an informer? Who was your handler? The person who you immediately reported to. Remember that you took Mr. Governor or Shrude's governor to the flat. So I ask again, who was your handler? Who was the person that looked after you as an informer?
There was just I can only remember Shrewd.
Right, so Shrude was your handler, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And this Veena Mirage, who was her handler?
I have no idea.
Okay. am I correct that, just to wrap up, after Dr. Haffejee's death, am I correct in saying that you married Joseph Benjamin, Major Joseph Benjamin?
It was long after his death.
So the answer is yes, I married.
Yes.
Okay. And you had 2 children from him?
I had one son.
I see.
I know I had a daughter.
Yes. Thank you. I have nothing further to Lord. At this point.
Stefani, I don't know whether you want to reserve your questions. Should we take a tea break before you start?
Yes, I think we should.
Let's proceed at 25 to.
That's a good point.
Court is adjourned.
All right.
Mrs. Benjamin, just remember that you are still under oath. Confirm it.
Yes, sir.
You can remove your mask because there's a screen in front of you. That should protect you. Okay. Yes.
As a court, please. Mrs. Benjamin, before I start my cross-examination, I must warn you of your rights and potential risks in testifying in court. You're aware that it's a criminal offence to lie under oath, either in a sworn statement or in testimony before a court.
Yes, sir.
You're aware of that. And you're aware that if charged and convicted, there is a criminal penalty that you might face.
Yes, sir.
Now, at the beginning of your evidence in chief, you confirmed that you had made out a statement that you signed on the 25th of January 2018. And you confirmed the correctness of that statement. Look, that's the statement at Exhibit G11, page 1448.
Sorry, did she confirm the correctness of the statement?
I believe she did, but perhaps
don't remember
I can
her.
ask you again, is this statement correct and accurate?
Yes, it is correct.
Yes, and indeed when you signed it before a commission of oaths, you had to confirm that. You retired as a lecturer at Durban University of Technology. What were you teaching at the Durban University of Technology?
Nursing.
Nursing. Now, let's move to your association with Dr. Haffejee. You mentioned in your evidence in chief, as well as in your statement, that he was self-opinionated, and you say your experience with him left a bitter taste in your mouth. You then go on to say that the reason behind his recruitment drive was to recruit them to be part of the fight against the apartheid government. You seem to have a problem with his recruiting for that purpose. Why did you have a problem with his recruiting people to oppose apartheid?
Because he was of the opinion that he's better than everybody else. And that left a very bitter taste in my mouth.
But you didn't support the fact that the purpose behind his recruitment was to oppose apartheid.
No, I didn't.
Were you against his recruiting people to fight against apartheid?
Yes, I was.
Can you explain why?
Because he felt that he was better than everybody else.
Even if the cause that he was advocating for was a noble cause.
Mm.
All right. You also say in your statement at paragraph 8, in describing your father, you say the following: "When it came to my father, my shield was always up. I protected him. My father was the main man in my life. Haffejee knew that I would never do anything that would bring disgrace to my father." So am I correct in saying that you would never allow anybody to hurt your father or talk badly about him?
That's right.
And you were also concerned that your father should never hear about you dating somebody outside your caste and religion. And the problem was that you were Tamil, and Haffejee was Muslim. So that was a problem, that news of that could not get to your father. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In describing Haffejee's courtship of you, in paragraph 10, towards the bottom of the page, you say that you were curious about him. You say, to me, he was a challenge. So it does appear that you were actually quite taken with him.
I was.
But in paragraph 11, you say the relationship between Haffejee and yourself was, and I quote, not exactly romantic. What did you mean by that?
There was no mushy stuff associated with the relationship.
Would I be correct in saying that from Dr. Haffejee's perspective, he never saw you as a serious girlfriend?
No,
Is that correct, or
it's correct.
that's correct? And that hurt you?
It was an insult, actually.
Yes. And in fact, it was hurtful to you as a person.
Yes.
And while we're on the relationship, there was in fact another woman. Indeed, in your statement, from paragraph 14, the pages are not numbered, but there's a heading titled "The Other Woman." Who was this other woman?
She was somebody who was teaching, who was lecturing at the University of Durban, Westville at the time.
Do you recall that her name was Shaida Pillay?
Shaida, yes.
Sorry, Shaida Allen, I beg your pardon. Do you recall that name?
I recall her first name only, not her surname.
Okay. And unlike you, she was actually a Muslim,
Yes.
so she had a certain advantage in her relationship with Dr. Haffejee,
Maybe.
maybe. Did Dr. Haffejee's association with Shaida lead to problems in your relationship with him?
I wouldn't say specifically, but the relationship was problematic.
Right. Well, perhaps just to jog your memory, I can refer you to paragraph 16 of your statement. You say that she was at a house party once or twice at Dr. Haffejee's flat. You say, I might have just greeted her only. I did not want to speak to her because she was the culprit to all the bad feelings between Haffejee and myself. And you say you did address this issue with Dr. Haffejee. because his conduct hurt me. And he even went so far as to say to you that that if his friends were the problem, and if you could not put up with it, you should leave. He was that blunt with you. Was that not very hurtful for you?
Very much so.
And in the same paragraph, you say you cared deeply about him. So in actual fact, you did harbour deep feelings for Dr. Haffejee at that time.
I did.
And I'm curious, this was even though you've pointed out that he came from a different caste and religion. You could never even disclose the fact that you were having a relationship with him to your father. Probably also meant you could never marry him. So why were you so invested in Dr. Haffejee then?
I wanted to find out everything I could about him in terms of his recruitment of young people to formulate his cells.
You're talking about when you were working with the security branch to inform on him?
Yes.
Right. But certainly prior to that, it does seem that you did harbour these deep feelings for him, and you were upset that he was not as responsive as you would have liked him to be.
Naturally.
Yes. If we can turn to the discovery of the apparent subversive literature in Dr. Haffejee's flat. You mentioned that when you were tidying his flat, you just came across this literature in this specially designed book. Am I correct in saying you didn't come across the literature by accident while you were cleaning up, that you were in fact snooping in order to find potential material to implicate him?
Yes.
Yes. So the reference in paragraph 18 that you were tidying up his flat is not really correct. You were searching the flat to find materials that might implicate him. I assume that you would agree with that statement.
I do.
Yes. And I'm also curious about what you say at the end of that paragraph 18. You say that Dr. Haffejee also asked you one day that if he instructed you to kill your father, would you do it? And you said yes to impress him. Now, in the light of what you've already said about your father, did that really happen? Did Haffejee really ask whether you would kill your father and you said yes?
Not taking anything that he said seriously. I could have said anything.
Yes. Well, I want to put it to you that it's most improbable that he would have asked you that question, and it would be equally improbable, given what you say in paragraph 8 about your father, that you respected him immensely and you would do nothing to see him harmed, that you would answer in the affirmative to a question like that. Perhaps let me cut to the chase, Mrs. Benjamin. That's a fabrication. So, is it a fabrication? Yes or no? Do you understand what the word fabrication means?
Yes.
So is that a fabrication or not?
You mean of the actual fact?
Yes. I want to know whether in fact he asked you whether you would kill your father and whether you said yes.
I don't remember me saying yes, but he did imply that I was capable of anything, including killing my father.
Now, paragraph 19, you say, at some point, I also found a large collection of bits of metals and nails. To me, some of the metal bits looked like they could be used to make bombs. They looked like shrapnel. Now, when you say at some point you found this large collection of bits of metal and nails, what do you mean by at some point?
Whilst I was fiddling in his cupboard.
Okay. And was it at the same time that you came across the literature in the book?
Yes.
And these bits of metals and nails, were they just lying about or in a bag?
They were pretty neatly organized in groups.
So they were in bags?
Yeah, maybe.
So you took the view that these were shrapnel and could be used to make bombs. Now, given that, what action did you take to make sure that they couldn't be used to hurt people? Because now you're aware that this is potential shrapnel. So what did you do at that point?
I just tried to ignore those findings and didn't pay much attention
Right.
to it.
Even though potentially at any point they could have been used in explosives and potentially hurt or killed innocent people. You see, I'm curious, Mrs. Benjamin. You make reference to the metals and the nails and the literature. Now, there is evidence that certain handwritten notes were referred to in the first inquest. And my Lord, in due course, we'll point out these references, which are on volume A13.
Yeah.
Although the written notes themselves were never put up as an exhibit, curiously, my Lord. They were simply referred to. But the metals and nails didn't feature in the first inquest. And surely, given that they posed an imminent danger to civilians, one would have thought, well, they should have featured. They should have been seized. Do you also not find that strange and odd?
I find it strange on reflection now, but it didn't seem too important to me at the time.
Yes. Well, if you're accusing Dr. Haffejee of having notes and the means, as in the shrapnel, to make bombs, and indeed the police allege that as well, and yet the hard evidence never features. Notwithstanding the imminent danger and the so-called hard evidence. So, Mrs. Benjamin, again I must put to you that the claimed discovery of bits of metals and nails is yet another fabrication. Let me put it more bluntly, it's a lie.
But that is what I found. These bits and pieces of metal, objects, including nails and...
And did you inform the security branch about the existence of those pieces of metal and nails?
Yes, I did.
And what did they do? Did they go to the flat and seize the...
No, they didn't. They didn't go to the flat and seize anything. They just observed and went away.
Even though they knew that there was imminent danger of a bomb potentially being made with that shrapnel, they took no action.
Yes.
You see, I find that quite unbelievable, and we will be asserting that that is a fabrication. That's a lie. Any response?
Why would I want to lie about something like that?
Well, I'll pose a possible motivation for you to lie on that, because you wanted to justify informing on Dr. Haffejee. That's why. Your response? Let me put it another way. You wanted to make him look worse than he really was. You neither agree or not agree, but you have to respond.
I wanted to make him look like he was this bad person. So anything that I could find that would implicate him, I would use it.
I want to put it to you that not only was it anything you could find, but you were willing to embellish the information you were giving to the security branch. Do you know what embellish means?
Make it look.
It really means you tell them, you give them information that is not strictly speaking correct. For example, you mentioned that there were metals and nails when there weren't. The shrapnel. All right, I'll assume that that's a question you do not wish to respond to.
Did you exaggerate what Dr. Haffejee was doing at the time by mentioning the nails and these metals?
No, I have not at any point exaggerated anything. It would serve me no good whatsoever to exaggerate.
As a Caucasian. So you've just mentioned that you did inform the police because you didn't want to make him look bad. And I want to put it to you that the reason why you informed on Dr. Haffejee to the security branch is because you wanted revenge against him.
I just wanted him to suffer a
Yes.
little bit.
Exactly. And you wanted something bad to happen to him. You wanted him to suffer. Because he was not treating you as a serious girlfriend. Is that correct?
Partly correct.
Yes. And your work with the security branch on betraying Dr. Haffejee was for that reason, to make him suffer. It had nothing to do with the public good or protecting the public. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. Now, in paragraph 20, just so we can correct things, you say, about 7 or 8 lines down, I do not know if someone in fact had indeed sold him out to the security branch. That statement is incorrect, isn't it? Because you in fact sold him out to the security branch.
I informed against him.
Yes. And in doing so, you sold him out to the security branch.
Yes.
Yes. So that statement is wrong. Another statement which is just manifestly wrong is further down in the same paragraph. You say, I never threatened to report him to the security branch, and I do not know why he said that, after he accused you of being a snitch. That statement is also wrong, because that's exactly what you did to him. Correct?
Mm.
And you mentioned that Dr. Haffejee was an astute, observant person, and he knew he was under surveillance. He observed a white guy in a non-white area. And then you say, you knew this white guy. He was part of the team working with Captain du Toit. Do you remember the name of this white guy?
I can't remember.
You
now.
can't remember, okay. But you knew who he was because you had met these individuals in your dealings with the security branch. If we could turn to the next part of your statement where you deal with your reaction to his arrest and his death. That very first statement has to be a fabrication on your part. You say, prior to Haffejee's death, I knew no one from the security branch. I was scared of the police. That's a lie, isn't it? Because prior to Haffejee's death, not only did you know people from the security branch, you were working with them, you were hardly scared of them. Correct?
Yeah.
Then you say you heard about Dr. Haffejee's arrest from someone at work. And you say you felt bad and ashamed and totally out of control when he was arrested because he was still my friend. I put it to you that the only reason why you felt bad and ashamed was because you had betrayed him, not because he was your friend. Correct?
Correct.
You go on to say you were worried about him and concerned for his safety and well-being. And again, that has to be a lie. You were not concerned for his safety and well-being, because if you were, you would never have reported him to the security branch.
Correct.
And you knew the security branch might hurt people as they have hurt other people in custody. Correct?
Correct.
Then you say you attempted to take your own life and you ingested toxic medication. Because he was your closest friend and you didn't know how to get out of this mess. But in your evidence in chief, you denied attempting to take your own life. So, what is the truth? Did you or did you not ingest medication to kill yourself?
I can't remember.
You can't remember. And then in the next paragraph, there are more falsehoods. You mentioned that Dr. K.V. Mudley, he had treated you, and you were horrified that people might think that you had something to do with his arrest and detention. Again, that's just a blue-faced lie, because you were the reason for his arrest and detention. So that statement in your affidavit is completely wrong and false. Correct?
Yes.
In fact, it's correct to say that without your involvement, your reporting him to the security police, he wouldn't have been arrested, at least not at that time.
Correct.
You do need to say yes, because this is all on a transcript, so you can't just nod your head. In the last sentence, the last few sentences of paragraph 22, you say, "To me, I'd done nothing wrong." And then you say, "At no stage was I ever entertained with booze and cash by security branch members. Are you still standing by that statement? Is that
Yes.
correct? Are you saying that post the death, when you weren't feeling great, there was no attempt by the police to lift up your spirits by entertaining you with liquor and food, perhaps on the beach? Do you recall that? Do you recall being entertained by the police, including Warrant Officer Gopal, after the death of Dr. Haffejee, with food and alcohol?
No.
No. I put it to you, Mrs. Benjamin, that you're lying under oath in denying that. Let's turn to your relationship with Lieutenant Munsami, who changed his name to Benjamin. Now, your surname was Benjamin as well. Can you explain to this court why Lieutenant Munsami decided to change his name to Benjamin?
That was his family name.
It was also his family name.
Hmm.
You claim that at the time, before Haffejee died, you didn't know he was married. Is that correct?
Didn't know who was married.
Lieutenant Munsami.
I knew he was married.
Yes, so that's another incorrect statement in your affidavit. And you say the only reason you accepted his advances was because he threatened you with disclosure as the snitch. Is that why you entered into a relationship with him? To prevent him disclosing your identity as the snitch?
No.
No. So that's another incorrect statement in paragraph 23. Now, in your evidence in chief, you claim that you never received any payment from the security branch.
That's right.
Are you still claiming that?
Yes.
So then why in paragraph 23 at the bottom of paragraph 23 you say you would give the security branch an update on events that may have happened on multiple visits. You say, I was paid money in cash by Benjamin. This would be done in my flat in Reservoir Hills. The amount would be about 200 Rand in cash every 6 weeks. I did sign for it on a piece of paper. The piece of paper would be bought by Benjamin or one of his lieutenants. So according to your statement, you were on the books, you were receiving an income from the security branch, and you were signing for it.
I disagree. I did not do such a thing.
So you're disagreeing with your own statement, your own sworn statement that you made to the National Prosecuting Authority. Why is that in your statement, if it's not true? I must put it to you that it is true, and that your denials under oath today that you didn't receive payment from the security branch is a lie. You carry on in that paragraph. You accuse Benjamin of not always giving you the correct amount of money, not always paying you for expenses. You even say all of this was documented, and this was exchanged for information on Haffejee and his activities. It stopped when Haffejee died. So according to your sworn statement, it was abundantly clear that you were receiving cash for the information you were providing on Haffejee. In the next paragraph, at the bottom of paragraph 24, you say that Haffejee was secretive in his beliefs, but he trusted you. Would you agree that his trust was misplaced, and actually he should never have trusted you?
Yes.
Yes. Mrs. Benjamin, if I can refer you to paragraph 26 of your statement. You make the following claim. After Dr. Haffejee died, the security branch kept in touch with me. I had been threatened by the Haffejee family. And in the next paragraph, you go on to say that you started the relationship with Benjamin because he offered to keep me safe from the Haffejee family. Are you seriously suggesting that the Haffejee family threatened you?
Yes.
Threatened your safety? So where's the detail? Who threatened you and how did they do that? Let's start with who specifically threatened you?
Members of the family.
Yes. But I assume you have no names. I'll assume you have no names to give. And how did they specifically threaten you? Do you have an answer to that question,
No.
Mrs. Benjamin? You don't. And the reason why you don't is because you're lying. You're lying now, and you lied in this statement. On both occasions, under oath. Isn't that correct?
No, it's not correct.
Not correct. And yet you can't give the slightest detail on those claims. You then go on to say, in that same paragraph, 27, he promised to keep me safe, but he also threatened me that if I did not go with him, he would expose me to the Haffejee family. Are you sticking to that statement? But if you did not enter into a relationship with him, he would expose you as the snitch behind the arrest of Haffejee.
Oh, that's wrong.
Yes, of course it's wrong. Haffejee already knew before he died that you had been a snitch. And it subsequently became well known. So indeed, That is another falsehood in your statement. If we can turn to paragraph 28. You say that your husband, Mr. Benjamin, was subpoenaed to the Truth Commission, but he refused to testify. You say that your husband told you that the security branch members had beaten up Haffejee. Did he explain to you the kind of torture that Dr. Haffejee had been subjected to?
No.
Although in your statement in the same paragraph 28, towards the bottom of that page, you say that your husband says he was badly tortured because he was so arrogant and a know-it-all. And then you say that, and presumably this is because your husband told you, he had given Haffejee special treatment on torture methods with a shifting spanner or a pinchy. Do you recall that?
No.
And yet it's in your statement.
No.
It's in your statement in paragraph 28, the statement that you signed, your initials at the bottom of the page. Would you agree that if somebody was tortured with a shifting spanner, that would be excruciating torture to anybody? Do you agree?
Yeah.
You then say in the same paragraph that Dr. Haffejee would never have taken his own life. Why do you think he wouldn't have taken his own life? Do you have an answer to that?
No.
You then say in paragraph 29 that your husband wanted to go before the Truth Commission and admit his role in the killing of Haffejee. That's the last two sentences of paragraph 29. Perhaps you can just find it quickly. Have you found it?
Yes, I have.
My husband wanted to go before the TRC and admit his role in the killing of Haffejee, but he did not because he said it would jeopardize his life and that of his family. So your husband admitted that Dr. Haffejee was killed. He admitted that to you.
I can't remember.
You can't
Such-
remember. But you presumably did remember it at the time that this statement was taken in January of 2018. So presumably, if it's in your sworn statement, you remembered it at least in January of 2018. Correct?
I don't remember.
Do you think there's a possibility that Dr. Haffejee was murdered while he was in detention? Well, I'm going to put it to you that your husband did have a discussion with you about what happened in security branch detention, and that discussion is reflected in these paragraphs. even if you don't wish to comment on them now. So, let's turn to this letter that's attached to your statement. The letter that you wrote to Dr. J.F. Weber, also known as Jurgen. And all that's at page 1462 and 3 of volume G.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Benjamin, on page 1463, so the first page of the letter, about halfway down, and I'm going to quote what you wrote to Jurgen. And if I get this wrong, please correct me. Well, I'm at present playing as many as 3 roles, all rolled up in the same person, or rather in the form of Mati. I love it all tremendously. It suits my mysterious personality. You recall writing that?
It is my handwriting, so I must have written it.
Yes. And so what did you mean by the playing of 3 roles all rolled up into one person? Perhaps you can tell the court the 3 roles that you were playing at that time. The 3 roles, Mrs. Benjamin, what were they? Well, let me put it to you that I think at least 2 of them are quite obvious. The one role was this relationship with Dr. Haffejee, even if it wasn't a serious romantic relationship. But another role was the duplicitous role you were playing, that was deception. Because for at least a period, he had no idea that you were being a snitch, you were informing on him. So would you agree those are at least 2 of the roles?
You are so wrong.
Okay. Well, all I can do is put to you what might be, but I've invited you to explain what the 3 roles were. And surely you remember, because you say that you love playing those 3 roles. In your words, I love it all tremendously. It suits my mysterious personality. So you enjoyed tremendously playing those different roles.
So what if I did enjoy it?
Yes, what if you did? So I put it to you that you enjoyed playing the duplicitous role in betraying your lover, Dr. Haffejee. You enjoyed that. Correct?
Wrong.
Wrong. So when you say, so what if you did? What did you mean by that? All right, just one final matter by way of clarification. In your statement, at paragraph 25, you claim never to have given security branch members key to Dr. Haffejee's flat. Am I correct in saying that that's a false statement, because in fact you did give them a key to the flat?
How could I have done that?
Well, according to your evidence, you were in possession of a key to the flat.
But I didn't give them any duplicate or whatever.
Well, it's the evidence of Warrant Officer Gopal that you made available a key which they made a copy of, and they could then enter the flat at will.
Maybe.
Maybe. So again, I want to put it to you, Mrs. Matia, that in denying that you made available a key to the flat to allow them to gain unrestrained access, you were lying under oath. Correct?
No.
Right. Well, we will be putting it to this court that you were lying under oath. No further questions. No.
Any other examination, Mr. McDonald?
No, thank you, Lord.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Benjamin, for giving us your time. You may be excused.
Thank you, sir.
Was this the only witness today, Mr. McDonald?
Yes, Lord, that is correct.
Sure. What's the date on Monday?
I believe it's the 6th of September.
6th.
Yes, the 6th of September. Lord, before we adjourn the matter, just to give the court an update regarding the request for the police files, I have been in contact with the investigating officer, who has also then been in contact with the personnel in Pretoria. Due to logistical problems, the files are taking a little longer to actually obtain. However, arrangements are currently being made that they be scanned and emailed, thereby cutting down any time or wastage. We hope to have them within the next 24 hours. That's the understanding I have.
Okay.
Thank you, Lord.
No, that's all right. Well, I'll adjourn the hearing then to the 6th of September at 10. Thank you.
Well done.
What is adjourned?